The rain in downtown Houston hit the penthouse windows like somebody was throwing pebbles. Inside, the place was warm, but the air felt cold. Calvin Royce stood near the door with his arms folded, jaw tight, acting like he was doing Danielle a favor. Imani Royce had just walked in with groceries, bread, eggs, and a small cake box. She planned to make dessert, hoping it would soften him. Instead, she walked into a trap. On the couch sat Sierra Tate, Calvin's side chick, legs crossed, phone in hand, smiling like she already won. Her perfume filled the room like smoke. Calvin didn't whisper. He didn't even look sorry. "Pack your stuff," he said. "You're leaving, tonight." Imani froze. "Calvin, what are you saying?" He pointed toward the hallway like she was staff. "I'm tired. Tired of your questions. Tired of your poor mindset. You make this house feel heavy." Imani's chest hurt. "This house feels heavy because you're cheating." Sierra laughed under her breath, proud and disrespectful. Calvin stepped closer, eyes sharp. "Sierra gives me peace. She doesn't nag." Imani stared at him, shaking. "So you're choosing her?" Calvin shrugged. "I'm choosing myself." Imani looked around. She remembered the nights she stayed up helping him plan deals, the morning she ironed his shirts, the time she covered bills when his money was stuck. She built this life with him, but none of it was in her name. Calvin lifted his phone. "If you don't leave, I'll call security." That word cut deep. Security. Like she was a stranger in her own home. Imani grabbed a suitcase, threw clothes inside, didn't fold anything. Tears came, but she wiped them fast. She refused to cry in front of Sierra. At the door she turned. "One day," she said, voice low, "you'll regret this." Calvin laughed. "Regret you? Please." Imani walked into the elevator, heart breaking but face calm, because she didn't know it yet. This was the night her blessing started. Imani slept in her car behind a 24-hour grocery store near 3rd Ward. Not because she wanted to, because she had no choice. Her phone kept buzzing, but she didn't answer. She didn't want pity. She didn't want fake apologies. At 5 a.m., she got one message from Calvin. "Calvin, drop the keys in the mail." "No, are you safe?" "No, I'm sorry. Just a cold order." Imani laughed once, then cried quietly. She dropped the keys in a mailbox before the sun came up. Then she drove to the only person who would not judge her, Aunt Loretta, her mom's older sister. Loretta lived in a small apartment near Midtown Houston, the kind with tight parking and loud neighbors, but it felt like peace. When Loretta opened the door and saw Imani's face, she pulled her inside. "Baby," she whispered. "What happened?" Imani tried to speak, but her voice broke. Loretta hugged her tighter. "Don't rush," she said. "You're safe here." That afternoon, a man knocked on the door holding a plain box. "Delivery for Imani Ellis," he said. Ellis was Imani's maiden name. Nobody used it anymore. Imani's stomach tightened. "Who sent it?" "No name," the delivery man said. Inside the box was a leather folder and one paper on top. "Notice of beneficiary, asset transfer." Imani's hands shook. Loretta leaned in. "What is that?" Imani whispered, "I don't know." A phone number sat at the bottom. She stared at it for a long time, then finally called. A calm voice answered. "Ms. Ellis? We've been trying to reach you. This is Crescent Trust and Legal." Imani swallowed. "Reach me for what?" The voice paused, then said it. "You have inherited an estate you didn't know existed." Imani's heart dropped. Loretta's eyes widened. "Baby, what?" Imani couldn't even breathe right, because while Calvin was busy laughing, life was quietly changing her whole story. 2 days later, Imani was in New York City, sitting inside a glass office in Midtown Manhattan. Everything smelled like money. Clean floors, quiet voices, big windows. She felt out of place, but she sat up straight anyway. Across from her sat attorney Cameron Holt, a sharp black woman with calm eyes and a voice that didn't waste words. "I'm sorry for your loss," Cameron said. Imani blinked. "Loss? I don't even know who died." Cameron slid a photo across the table. It was an older black man with kind eyes and a gentle smile. Something about him felt familiar, like a face you'd seen in a dream. Cameron spoke softly. His name was Harlan Ellis. He passed last month. Imani's mouth opened. Ellis? Cameron nodded. Your grandfather. Imani shook her head fast. No, my grandfather died when I was little. Cameron exhaled. That's what you were told. He stayed hidden. He built quietly. Cameron opened a folder. Property lists, company names, stocks, notes. Imani's name was on top of everything. Sole beneficiary, Imani Ellis. Imani whispered, Why me? Cameron looked her dead in the eyes. Because you weren't chasing him for money. Imani's hands trembled. How much is it? Cameron paused, careful. Ms. Ellis, she said, you are worth 8 figures. Imani's chest went tight. She stared at the papers like they were fake. Aunt Loretta squeezed her hand. Lord have mercy. Imani looked at Cameron. He knew me? Cameron nodded. He followed your life from a distance. He saw your work. He saw your marriage, and he saw how your husband treated you. Imani's eyes filled. And the wild part? Calvin had no idea. He thought she was sleeping in her car with nothing. He didn't know she was sitting in Manhattan, holding papers that could change everything. Imani wiped her face slowly, and she made a quiet promise. I'm not going back to beg, she said. Cameron nodded. Good. Wealth moves best with silence. Imani looked down at the documents again. Then she smiled, small but real, because she finally understood. Getting kicked out didn't end her life. It opened the door to her new one. Back in Houston, Calvin was acting like a free man. He posted Sierra on Instagram like she was a prize. Rooftop dinners, fancy drinks, private tables. He smiled big like he didn't just destroy a marriage. Sierra loved it. She loved walking into places holding his arm like she earned it. She told people, I upgraded his life. She called Imani basic. Calvin's best friend, Drayvon, didn't laugh much anymore. You moved dirty, Dre told him at a sports bar. Imani wasn't the problem. Calvin waved it off. She was slowing me down. Sierra gets me. Dre shook his head. Sierra gets your money. Calvin smirked. I got plenty. But the truth? Calvin's money wasn't stable. He was juggling debts, trying to close a real estate deal that could either make him big or break him. That same week, Calvin got a letter from the bank. Audit notice. Then another email. Review pending. Sierra rolled her eyes. It's fine, babe. You always handle it. Calvin forced a smile, but fear started creeping in. Meanwhile, Imani was moving different. No posting, no bragging, no revenge talk. She stayed in New York for a month, learning from Cameron. How to protect money, how to buy property smart, how to build business credit, how to invest, how to keep people from using you. Cameron told her, the rich don't always yell, they sign papers. Imani listened. She studied. She asked questions. She started wearing confidence like clothes. Quiet, fitted, strong. One night, Loretta looked at her and smiled. You changed. Imani stared at the city lights. I didn't change, she said. I woke up. Then Cameron sent an email that made Imani's stomach drop. A Houston property deal is being filed under a company linked to Calvin Royce. Imani reread it twice. Cameron called right away. He's trying to buy a property, she said, and he doesn't know it's yours. Imani went silent. Loretta whispered, baby. Imani's eyes got calm. Don't tell him, Imani said. Cameron agreed. You shouldn't. Not yet. Imani's heart beat hard, because fate was lining it up. The same man who chased her out was about to sit at a table and beg her for a deal, without knowing she was the one holding the pen. A week later, Imani got an invitation to a big event in Houston, the Skyline Wealth Summit, Riverfront Hotel Ballroom. Imani stared at the words. That hotel was the same place Calvin always flexed. The same place where rich people talked big and hid secrets. Cameron explained it plain. Calvin's deal is tied to one of your grandfather's properties. If he signs tomorrow, it locks the terms for years. Imani asked, so what do I do? Cameron's answer was simple. You show up. Loretta raised an eyebrow. Baby, you ready for that? Imani took a breath. I'm not going to fight, she said. I'm going to face it. The night of the summit, Loretta helped Imani get ready. Not too flashy, just clean and classy. A black dress, simple jewelry, hair laid nice. The kind of look that says, I'm not here to impress you. I'm here to handle business. When Imani stepped out of the car at the Riverfront Hotel, cameras flashed for other people, not her. She didn't mind. She wasn't chasing attention. Inside, the ballroom was full of suits, laughter, and fake smiles. Calvin stood near the stage with Sierra on his arm. He looked proud, loud, comfortable. Then he turned and saw Imani walk in. His smile froze. Sierra's face twisted. Why is she here? Calvin's eyes narrowed like his brain couldn't catch up. Imani? Imani didn't rush. She didn't wave. She walked like she belonged, like she had every right to be there. Calvin stepped forward fast. What are you doing here? Imani stopped, looked at him calm. I was invited. Calvin frowned. Invited by who? Imani's eyes slid to Sierra for half a second, then back to Calvin. Not by you, she said. Sierra laughed loud. Girl, go home. Loretta stepped forward. Watch your mouth. Before Calvin could talk again, Cameron Holt appeared beside Imani, calm and sharp. Miss Ellis, Cameron said, we're ready. Calvin's eyes widened. Ellis? Imani didn't explain, because she didn't have to. Calvin was about to learn the hard way. The woman he chased out didn't come back to beg. Calvin tried to act tough, but his voice came out shaky. Imani, talk to me. Why you here? Imani's eyes stayed calm. It's business. Calvin laughed like he was in control. Business? You don't even... Cameron cut in, polite but firm. Mr. Royce, your company filed an offer on a Carter Ellis property. We need to discuss terms. Calvin blinked. Carter Ellis? Imani said softly, my family name. Sierra stepped forward angry. This is fake. She broke. Loretta smiled cold. You talk too much for somebody living off another woman's husband. Oof. People nearby tried not to react, but their faces said everything. Calvin swallowed. Okay, who owns the property? Cameron didn't look at Calvin. She looked at Imani. Imani looked Calvin dead in his eyes. I do. Calvin's face went blank, like someone turned off the lights. Sierra's mouth fell open. No, Calvin whispered. How? Imani didn't answer right away. She let him sit in that confusion, let him feel what it's like to have no control. A tall investor, Mr. Sterling Knox, walked up and shook Imani's hand. Ms. Ellis, he said, it's an honor. Calvin stared. Honor? Sterling nodded. Your grandfather's portfolio is respected, very respected. Calvin's chest got tight. Sierra grabbed Calvin's arm. Baby, don't let her play you. But Calvin couldn't move. He was watching rich people treat Imani like a boss. He remembered calling her nothing. Now her silence was louder than his jokes. Imani leaned in slightly. Calvin, she said, voice low. We'll talk in private. Calvin nodded like a man who just lost his legs. Sierra tried to follow. Cameron stopped her with a smile that wasn't friendly. This meeting is not for you, Cameron said. Sierra snapped. I'm his woman. Loretta laughed. You're his problem. Calvin didn't defend Sierra, because his whole mind was screaming one thing. How did Imani become this? And Imani still hadn't told him the full truth. She wasn't ready, because the real twist wasn't just the money. It was what she learned about Calvin. In the hallway outside the private meeting room, Sierra started losing it. Her voice got loud and heads started turning. This is crazy, Sierra snapped. She's trying to take your deal. Calvin's face was pale. He didn't even know what to say. Sierra grabbed his arm. You better not let her embarrass you. You're Calvin Royce. Calvin pulled his arm back. Not right now, Sierra. Sierra's eyes widened. What you mean, not right now? Calvin's voice was low. Just stop. Sierra looked around at the people watching. She forced a laugh. Y'all see this? He acting scared of his ex. Loretta stepped close, voice sharp. He should be scared, because karma don't need permission. Sierra's smile slipped. Old lady, mind your business. Loretta stepped forward. Say that again. Sierra backed up, but her mouth kept going. Imani is a fraud. She always been weak. The door opened. Imani stood there calmly, eyes cold. Don't talk about me like you know me, she said. Sierra froze for a second, then snapped again. So you got money now. That's it. That's your whole personality. Imani's voice stayed quiet. Money didn't change me, she said. It exposed you. Sierra's face twisted. Calvin, tell her something. Calvin stared at Imani like he was seeing her for the first time. Imani cut him off. We're here for a deal, she said, not your feelings. That hurt him because he used to talk to her any kind of way. Now he couldn't even get her attention. Cameron appeared beside Imani, holding a folder. Mr. Royce, she said, your financial terms are weak. Your debt is high. Your investors are nervous. Calvin's voice cracked. I can fix it. Imani nodded once. Maybe. Sierra burst out. So what, you think you can control him now? Imani looked her in the eyes. No, she said. He controlled himself. Badly. That silence after was loud. Sierra looked at Calvin, begging with her eyes to fight back. But Calvin didn't, because he was starting to understand something. Sierra wasn't peace. Sierra was noise. And Imani was power. Imani turned to Calvin, voice steady. Come inside, she said. Calvin walked in like a man entering court, and Sierra stayed outside, shaking, because she knew what was happening. The woman she laughed at was about to own the whole moment. Inside the private room, the air felt tight. There was a long table, bottled water, papers, and a city view that looked like money. Calvin sat across from Imani, hands clasped, trying not to look desperate. Cameron and another attorney, Miles Dean, sat beside Imani. Loretta sat behind her like a wall. Calvin cleared his throat. Imani, I didn't know about the money. Imani's voice stayed calm. You didn't care to know where I'd end up, she said. Calvin swallowed. I made a mistake. Imani nodded once. You made a choice. Calvin's eyes dropped. Sierra pushed. Imani's eyes sharpened. Don't blame Sierra, she said. You wanted to cheat. You wanted to humiliate me. You wanted me gone. Calvin's face tightened with shame. Miles slid a paper across the table. If Ms. Ellis denies this deal, he said, your investors can pull out. Your company could collapse. Calvin's voice broke. So what do you want? Imani stared at him for a long second. Then she said, I want honesty. Calvin blinked. I'm being honest. Imani leaned forward. No, she said. You're being scared. Calvin's shoulders sank. Please. That word again, please. Imani didn't smile. She just looked at him like she remembered being on her knees begging life for a break. Cameron spoke softly. Ms. Ellis can restructure the deal under new terms, she said, or she can shut it down completely. Calvin looked at Imani like she was holding his heart. Imani tapped the papers gently. If I sign, she said, you keep your company alive. Calvin nodded fast. Yes. Imani's eyes stayed steady. But you will lose control. Calvin swallowed hard. I'll do anything. Loretta scoffed. Men always say that when the tables turn. Imani took a breath. I'm not doing this for revenge, she said. I'm doing this because I don't want dirty money hurting families, and I don't want you ever thinking you can treat women like trash and still win. Calvin's eyes watered. I'm sorry. Imani nodded once. I hear you. Then she stood. I'll give my answer tomorrow, she said. Calvin panicked. Imani, she cut him off. You rushed me out of my home in one night, she said. Now you can wait one day. And she walked out, leaving Calvin sitting in silence, wondering if he just lost everything. That night, Imani sat on Loretta's couch, staring at the ceiling. The money didn't feel real. The power didn't feel real. But the pain? That part was still real. Cameron called her. There's something else, she said. Imani's stomach tightened. What? Cameron's voice got serious. Years ago, your mother applied for medical help through a charity partner. Imani froze. Yes, Cameron continued. The request didn't fail because of money. It failed because of a delay. Someone delayed it. Imani's breath stopped. Who? Cameron emailed proof. Imani opened it and her whole body went cold. A signature, a name. Calvin Royce. He was working with that charity partner back then. He told Imani he tried to help. He told her he had no power. But the records showed he pushed the file back, put it in the later pile, let time run out. Imani's hands shook so bad her phone almost fell. Loretta gasped. What? Imani whispered. He lied, while my mom was dying. Loretta's face twisted with anger. That man ain't just a cheater. He's a monster. Imani's eyes filled. She didn't scream. She didn't break things. She just sat there, feeling a new kind of pain. Not heartbreak, betrayal, the deepest kind. And suddenly, her decision for tomorrow became clear. Not revenge, not violence. A lesson. Imani wiped her tears slowly. If I save his deal, she said softly, he'll think life gave him mercy. Loretta leaned in. And if you don't? Imani's voice got steady. Then he learns the truth. Loretta nodded. What truth? Imani looked out the window at the city lights. That you can't destroy a woman and still expect her to carry you. She stood up, calm but ready. Tomorrow, Calvin would walk into a room, thinking he could talk his way out. He didn't know Imani had receipts. The next morning, a meeting happened in a glass conference room downtown. Investors sat around a long table. Lawyers had laptops open. A reporter waited outside. Calvin arrived early, sweating. Sierra came too, dressed like she still belonged. But nobody looked at her. Imani walked in last, calm and clean, with Cameron and Loretta behind her. Calvin stood fast. Imani, thank you. Imani didn't answer. She sat at the head of the table. That alone changed the room. Cameron opened the folder. Ms. Ellis has a decision. Calvin whispered, please. Imani looked around the table. I reviewed the deal, she said. And I reviewed the past. Calvin's heart pounded. Imani continued. This deal needs trust. Then she slid the email printout across the table. You delayed my mother's medical request, she said, calm voice, heavy words. You lied to me about it. The room went dead silent. One investor leaned in, reading. Another whispered, that's crazy. Calvin's face turned white. Imani cut him off. No, she said, enough. Sierra stepped back like she didn't know him. Imani stood. I will not approve this deal under your control, she said. Calvin's shoulders dropped. His whole world fell in one sentence. Then Imani added, but I will rebuild it under my company. New terms. Full transparency. Real community support. Investors exchanged looks. Then nodded. Calvin whispered, so you're taking everything. Imani looked at him one last time. I'm not taking your life, she said. I'm taking my power back. She walked out. Sierra ran after her, panicking. Imani, wait. Imani didn't stop, because the wife Calvin chased out was gone, and the woman who returned was blessed, wealthy, and finally free.